I was sitting in my study, staring at a spreadsheet that made absolutely no sense, when I heard her laugh. It wasn't just a laugh, it was that bright, unrestrained sound that always made my heart skip a beat, even after 10 years of marriage. But this time, something was different. The laugh came from the kitchen, and she was on the phone. Nothing suspicious, right? Except this laugh was too bright. It wasn't for me. It was for someone else. It was new. My name is Mark, I'm 38. My wife is Hannah, 36. We're the perfect suburban couple. 2 cars, 2 great kids, a mortgage we hate, and a dog that eats our favorite shoes. Our life is the embodiment of the American dream. Or, at least, that's what the pictures Hannah posts on Instagram suggest. For the past 6 months, however, our photos have been lying. It started subtly, like a crack in the foundation you can initially ignore. Hannah started staying later at work. She's a manager at a marketing firm, and her career has always been important to her. But these late nights became a routine. First once a week, then twice, and then, it seemed she only came home to sleep. And then, there was the phone. Oh, her phone. It stopped being just a device. It became a fortress. Always face down, always silenced, and always on her. One evening, I reached out to grab it from the side table, thinking it was mine that rang, and her reaction was instantaneous and fierce. "Don't touch my phone, Mark." She snatched it away as if I were trying to steal her kidney. Her eyes flashed with panic for a moment before quickly cooling to irritation. "It's a work phone. I don't want you accidentally sending something to my boss." I backed off. "Sorry. Just thought it was mine." The incident left a bitter taste. It was the first clear signal that an invisible divide had formed between us. And I knew she had built it, not to protect herself from me, but to protect something from me. Back to the laugh. I quietly slipped out of the study and, like a thief in my own home, edged toward the corner of the hallway where the kitchen sounds traveled. Hannah stood with her back to me, looking out the window at the backyard where our children were digging a hole. She spoke softly, her voice tender, almost purring, a tone she hadn't used with me in months. "Yes, I know, that was crazy, but she actually said that in the meeting." "Yes, exactly. I know, you're so witty. I have to go, but I'll text you later, okay? You too." The word, crazy, and especially, witty. These weren't words she used with colleagues discussing budget reports. And the final phrase, "you too." It was a punch to the gut. She didn't say, "love you," but "you too," delivered in that intimate tone, was worse. It implied a mutuality of feeling. I retreated silently to my study. My hands were shaking. I was a lawyer, 12 years of experience digging up dirt and finding the truth. But at home, I felt like a naive fool. I didn't want to do this. I hated myself for it, but I already knew what I had to do. I accessed her iCloud. The thing is, Hannah was so concerned with protecting her new phone that she forgot our family iCloud still synced with her work laptop, which she used at home. And, crucially, it synced with my old, long-forgotten iPad. I pulled the iPad out of its hiding spot, entered our shared password, opened the Messages app. My fingers trembled as I scrolled. Most of the messages were work group chats and mom chats. I scrolled and scrolled, ignoring the scream in my head that begged me to stop, begged me to preserve the ignorance that was my only shield. And then I saw it. A separate thread, not a name, just one emoji, fire, fire. I tapped it. The messages were recent. They started with some innocuous business talk. But then, about a month ago, the tone shifted. "Hannah, the meeting was hell, but your presentation saved the day. You really know how to shut that old shark up." Fire. I'm always happy to shut someone up, Hannah. Especially if it makes you happy. P.S. Don't you think we talk about work too much considering how we spent last night? Hannah, do we? I think we talk about it too little. I can still taste that wine and you. We need to be careful. Mark is getting suspicious. Fire. Mark suspects nothing. He's too busy with his legal papers. And the busier he is, the more time we have. Tell me, do you want to meet up for lunch today? In the international room? I'll bring those cupcakes you like. Hannah. Oh, yes. I love your cupcakes. And yes, the international room is perfect. Mark thinks I have an important client meeting out of town. My head spun. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the air rush out of my lungs. It was George. George Steele, her colleague, the one I had met at Christmas parties. He was married, had a son, and always seemed like such a nice, slightly awkward guy. The international room was their office's nickname for an unassuming conference room. On their lunch break. Just brazen. I didn't feel rage. I felt a cold emptiness. It was like having surgery without anesthesia. I realized this had been going on for a while. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was an affair. I closed my eyes and thought of my old black notebook, the one I kept for fair planning, a legal trick to cool my head. Now I needed it to plan not a lawsuit, but the end of my life. I quickly scrolled the chat to today. I saw the conversation that prompted Hannah's bright laugh had just ended. Hannah, I have to go. He's here. He suspects something, but it's just paranoia so far. Love you. It wasn't, you too. It was, love you. I felt trapped. As a lawyer, I knew my emotions were my greatest enemy right now. I couldn't tip my hand. Not yet. I needed a plan. But scrolling back one more day, I saw a message that made my blood boil, not for the betrayal, but for the cynicism. Fire, your husband is really too nice. He told me you were tired and let me help with that report. LOL. Hannah, he always is. He's the perfect Mark. As long as he keeps paying the mortgage and driving the kids to soccer practice, that's all I need. I just need a little freedom with you. The perfect Mark. Those 3 words devastated me more than any secret rendezvous. I closed the iPad, put it back in the drawer, and stood up. I walked out to the kitchen, where Hannah was making coffee, her face back to its usual bland, slightly tired expression of late. Everything all right, honey? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. She barely turned her head. Yes, Mark. Just a hard day. Trying to meet a deadline. I walked up to her, placed my hand on her shoulder, and gently kissed her cheek. I believe in you, I said, looking into her eyes. At that moment, I knew. The game was on. And I, the perfect Mark, was about to play the lead role in this performance, but on my own terms. When I returned to my study, the kiss I had planted on Hannah's cheek felt nauseating. It was the first act of my life, and I deserved an Oscar for composed demeanor. She hadn't noticed a thing. She was too busy planning when she could work with George again in the international room. I picked up my old black notebook, the one I had mentioned earlier. It wasn't just a ledger, it was my tool for justice planning. I always believed the best revenge was served cold but without legal fault. That was my philosophy in the courtroom, and now it became my philosophy in life. I wrote on the first page, Case, Mark versus the happy marriage. Goal number 1, precise alignment. I needed to know everything. Not just the affair, but their schedules, meeting places, and financial expenses. I was a lawyer, not an emotional teenager. Emotions lead to mistakes, evidence leads to a verdict. For the next 3 days, I became a shadow. I became even more the perfect Mark. I brought Hannah coffee in the morning, asked about her tough deadlines, and even offered to take the kids so she could focus. Mark, you are so sweet, she'd say, giving a quick glance at her phone, which, of course, remained face down. That sweet word now sounded like a sentence. But I wasn't sweet. I was a predator. While she was at work, I operated from my office, doing what I do best, investigation. Through the iCloud access on the iPad, I dug into her synchronized work documents. I found the corporate directory. George Steele. Position: Senior Creative Director. Email address: his corporate phone, and, most importantly, his residential address, listed for emergency contacts. They lived in a neighboring suburb, 20 minutes away. Next, social media. Hannah was careful. No shared photos, no hints. But George was less cautious. I found his wife, Caitlin Steele. Her profile was open, a typical Instamom. She posted pictures of their son in his soccer uniform, their tidy house, and, of course, photos with George. One photo caught my eye. It was Caitlin and George embracing against a resort backdrop. Caitlin's caption: "Such a wonderful husband. My rock." Hashtag happy marriage, the date: 6 months ago. Right around when I suspected the affair began. An image of a perfect life that was crumbling just like mine. I felt a surge of pity for Caitlin. She, like me, was the perfect mark in this cynical game. But pity wasn't my endgame. Pity would be my tool. I went back to Hannah's messages. I took screenshots of all the worst parts, the mention of the international room, the hints of intimate meetings, and, of course, the phrase, "the perfect mark." I saved them in a hidden folder on a cloud drive Hannah couldn't access. Now it was time for the test. The following day, when Hannah was supposed to be staying late at the office, I enacted my plan. "Hannah, I need to take our daughter to the doctor and then drop her off at my mother's," I began, putting on my coat. "It's going to be late. Can I swing by to pick you up at 9 p.m. so you don't have to take a cab?" She froze. It was the perfect offer. It meant I would be unavailable all evening, giving her several hours for a tryst with George. But my offer to pick her up at the office, that put her on edge. "No, no, Mark," she said quickly, trying to keep her tone level. "That's so sweet, but don't worry about it. I'll probably be here until midnight. If you swing by, you'll just be sitting around waiting. I'll just grab a cab when I finish. Don't worry yourself." "Are you sure?" "It's really no trouble," I insisted, just to increase her discomfort. "Absolutely. Go see your mom. I want you to relax. I love you." "I love you too," I replied, again feeling disgust for my own words. I left the house, dropped my daughter at her grandmother's, and then, instead of driving to my mother's, I doubled back toward the city. I parked 3 blocks from her office, in a dark alley where I wouldn't be seen. The clock read 7:30 p.m. I waited. 7:45 p.m. I watched her silver BMW X5 pull out of the underground parking garage. She didn't drive toward home. She didn't drive toward a cab stand. She drove toward the Fairmont Hotel. The hotel was known for its luxurious bar and, of course, its anonymity. I didn't follow her in. Why bother? I had her location. I had the place, date, and time. I pulled out the black notebook again and wrote everything down. Then, I opened Google Maps and found Caitlin Steele's address, George's wife. I didn't want screaming or broken dishes. I wanted it to be clean and devastating. And the best way to destroy their lives was to have their partners destroy their lives. I drafted a text message on my phone. Not to Hannah, but to Caitlin. I erased and rewrote it again and again. I needed to be professional, yet human. I needed her to believe me. Finally, I sent it. "Me, unknown number Caitlin. Your husband, George, and my wife, Hannah, are having an affair. It happens during lunch breaks at the office, ask about the international room, and tonight they are at the Fairmont Hotel. I don't want money, I just want it to stop. I can send you proof. Please find me. Your husband calls me the perfect Mark. Sincerely, another victim." I put my phone down and took a deep breath. The message was delivered. Now, I could wait. Even if she didn't believe me, the phrase about the perfect Mark had to sting. It was an intimate detail only someone inside the situation could know. I sat in the darkness, watching the headlights rush by, and waited. Waited for the explosion that was about to happen on 2 fronts. George and Hannah were having their last night. And it was a night they would never forget. I sat in the car for almost an hour, wondering if I had gone too far. I was a professional. I should have hired a private investigator, delivered documents to a lawyer, acted legally. But they called me the perfect Mark. This demanded not just legality, but justice. My phone was silent. Caitlin was probably reading the message. Was she currently driving, rushing to the Fairmont? Was she crying into a pillow? Then, suddenly, at 8:50 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. Caitlin, text, the international room. Who are you? How do you know that phrase? It's our inside joke. I never told anyone. Is this really George? A jolt went through me. She believed it. The phrase they used to cover their intimate office meetings was now my key witness. Me. I am the one who found the evidence. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that we are both victims of betrayal. They are at the Fairmont now. I know this hurts. If you want proof, meet me tomorrow. I will show you the messages. Caitlin, I can't believe it. I need to drive there. I can't wait. Me, don't go. It will cause a scene. You want this to happen on your terms. Give me 24 hours to plan this out. Trust me. You will hit him much harder if you are patient. Your dignity is worth it. Tomorrow, 12 p.m., Old Bridge Cafe, by the river. She didn't reply. Maybe she went to the hotel. Maybe she didn't trust me. I sat for another 10 minutes, feeling the adrenaline slowly recede, leaving behind only icy composure. I had to cease my surveillance and return to my role as the perfect Mark. I called Hannah. Hey, honey, are you still at the office? My voice was gentle. Oh, Mark, hi. Yes, I'm here, and it's hell. Her voice sounded slightly strained, but she quickly recovered. We just finished a tough conference call. I'm about to call a cab. Nonsense. I just left my mom's place. I'll be at the office in 15 minutes. Just wait for me in the lobby. There was a pause. A long, tense pause. Mark, no, don't. I'm practically in the cab already. It's on Main Street. I'll be home before you get to me. Just go home. I want to shower and settle down with you. It was a lie she'd just generated on the fly. There were no offices on Main Street. I knew she was either still at the hotel or out and trying to concoct a story. Okay. You sound like you're really rushing, I said, though what I really heard was her lie. I'll wait at home. Love you. Love you. See you soon. She hung up quickly. I drove home, never going near the office. About 40 minutes later, her BMW X5 pulled into the driveway. She came in, looking exhausted, but the smile was too wide, too rehearsed. I'm so tired, she said, tossing her purse and phone onto the sofa. It was now always face up, as if that was proof of her innocence. Where are the kids? They're at my mom's. I figured we needed a quiet evening, I replied, walking up to her. I put my hands around her waist and kissed her. It was a cold, measured kiss. She responded, but her mind was elsewhere. Maybe with George, or maybe she was wondering if I noticed the faint scent on her clothes. I could feel her guilt. It was almost physical. I'm going to take a shower, she said, slipping out of my grasp. I went to the kitchen to make tea, but really, I needed to check my phone. No new messages from Caitlin. But then, a message from Hannah to George, sent on her way home, synchronized on my iPad. Hannah. God, that was close. Mark was on the edge. He offered to pick me up. I said I was already in a cab. I was such a bad girl. I love you. We need to be more careful. Fire. I barely made it too. We were so reckless. But it was worth it. Just imagine if we got caught. It would be so messy. Until tomorrow, darling. Good luck with the work stress. That casualness, that discussion of their near exposure, that utter disregard for my family that they were gambling with, it hardened my resolve. Messy. They had no idea what messy was. The next day, I met Caitlin at the Old Bridge Cafe. She walked in, and I recognized her immediately. She was as her Instagram photos depicted, pretty, but now her face was pale and drawn. She seemed as broken and bewildered as I had been a week ago. "Mark?" she asked quietly. I gestured to the seat across from me. "Sit down, Caitlin. My name is Mark. I'm the other victim." We ordered coffee. Her hands were shaking as she held the cup. "I called him yesterday when I got your message," she whispered. "He said it was crazy, that it was just a colleague trying to break us up. But the international room. That word threw me off." I sighed. "I know what he said. He's lying, and he's lying with a smile. I don't want to ruin your life, Caitlin. I just want the truth." I took out the iPad and opened the folder with the screenshots. I handed it to her. She scrolled through the messages silently. George calling her husband a nice mark. Hannah planning lunchtime meetings. When she reached, "Just imagine if we got caught. It would be so messy." She closed her eyes. Tears didn't fall. There was just emptiness, a cold shock. "My husband. He's my rock," she barely articulated. "My wife, my best friend," I finished for her. "We're here for one reason. They didn't just betray us. They mocked us." Caitlin looked at me. The sorrow was gone from her eyes. It was fury. Pure, cold, directed fury. "What do you propose, Mark?" "They want freedom and drama," I said, leaning over the table. "We'll give it to them. But on our terms. We're going to make them pay for destroying our families while calling us marks. I have a plan." "They want freedom and drama," I repeated, looking Caitlin straight in the eye. My heart, which had been stone for days, now felt a cold satisfaction. "We won't just expose them. We will bring them to their knees." Caitlin nodded. "I agree. No screaming. No broken plates. Just justice." My plan was simple, like a legal strategy: hit where it hurts the most. For Hannah and George, this wasn't their reputation, but their financial future and the comfortable lives that we, the Marks, provided. "Here is what we do," I began, pulling my outline from the notebook. "Step 1. Control the narrative. Tonight, I will tell Hannah we need to talk about the mortgage," I explained. "That will immediately put her on edge. I'll mention that due to legal troubles, I'm forced to significantly reduce my income, and will have to sell the house and move in with my mother. I will look broken and defeated. I will play the Mark perfectly again." Caitlin understood. "And George? I have to tell him my parents cut off the funding for his startup, and we need to drastically cut expenses. What will he do without his expensive golf tournaments and new gadgets?" Step 2. The climax, the international room. I gathered all the screenshots, texts, iCloud photos, and forwarded them to Caitlin. "Here is your ace. At 12:30 tomorrow, during lunch break, when they are likely meeting again, you will walk into Hannah's office and demand a meeting with the head of HR. Don't scream. Be calm and professional. Just show the HR head only the screenshot where George and Hannah discuss their international room, and mention it happens at the office. No scandal. They cannot afford an in-office scandal. That will be grounds for termination for violating corporate ethics, especially given their senior positions." Caitlin smiled, and that smile was sharper than a blade. "And once George is fired?" Step 3. The finale for Hannah. When Hannah comes home, she'll be furious and likely call George to complain, but he won't be able to answer. I'll be waiting. She'll tell me she was fired because of some jealous colleague. And that's when I tell her, "No, darling. You were fired because your perfect mark decided the game was over." She raised her coffee cup. "To justice. To justice," I confirmed, and we drank. The following evening, when Hannah came home, she was relaxed. She was confident she had fooled me successfully. I was sitting on the sofa, looking dejected, holding some papers. Mark? What's wrong? She asked, but there was no genuine concern in her voice, only momentary alarm that her comfort might be disrupted. I sighed, heavily, like an actor in a poor drama. Trouble, Hannah. Big trouble. The law firm is facing unexpected losses. I have to take a long-term leave. Our income will drop by at least 70%. I can't pay the mortgage. Her face twisted. What? You can't. You're the best lawyer. What are we going to do? We're selling the house. We're moving in with my mother. It's temporary, until I can recover, I said. The news stunned her. She started to panic. Move in with your mother? That's impossible. What about the kids? What about my job? I tried to console her, playing the part of the distraught husband, but she was already focused on her own best interests. You have to fix this, Mark. This is your job. I know, I said softly. I tried so hard so you could focus on your career. She went to take a shower to cool off. Meanwhile, I got a text from Caitlin. Caitlin, success. HR manager called them both in. George was fired immediately. Hannah is currently suspended. You can execute your finale. I smiled. When Hannah emerged from the shower, she received a call. It was her manager. Her face went white as she listened. I don't understand. Who said anything about the international room? That's absurd, she yelled into the receiver. 5 minutes later, she hung up. Her eyes were burning with rage. I've been fired, Mark, she hissed. Because of some crazy, anonymous accusation. Someone knows about me and George. But how? I stood up. My acting was over. I know how, Hannah, I said, and my voice was hard as steel. She looked at me, and for the first time in months, I saw real fear in her eyes. You didn't know anything. You're just... I walked over to her purse, took her phone, and flipped it over. Then, I pulled out my old iPad, opening the folder of screenshots. You called me the perfect Mark, Hannah. I raised my voice. You and George, your witty lover, laughed at me, at our life, at the mortgage I was paying while you were getting messy in the international room. I threw the iPad onto the couch. The screenshots of the most incriminating messages, including the perfect Mark phrase, were enlarged on the screen. It wasn't an anonymous call. It was me. I planned your exposure and your termination. And not just yours. George lost his job too. His wife, Caitlin, knows everything because I told her. She doesn't feel like a Mark anymore, either. She swayed, as if the air had been knocked out of her lungs. You're a psycho. I didn't. You just lost your career and your lover in one day. I cut her off. And now for the real part. We're not moving in with my mother. I'm not losing my job. I've started the divorce process. I have all the evidence of your infidelity to get maximum custody and minimal payouts. And by the way, you won't find a high-paying job once your lawyer ex-husband explains the reason for your firing. You wanted freedom? Here is your freedom. You are free now. Free from my house, my money, and my last name. She collapsed onto the couch next to the iPad, and only then, when everything was lost, did genuine tears start streaming down her face. She wasn't crying for me, she was crying for her shattered comfort. I collected my laptop and my notebook. You have a week to move out. The kids stay with me. I've already called my mother to come tomorrow. And don't try to call me. I am no longer your perfect Mark. I walked out of the room. I walked past her without looking back. Leaving her in silence, broken only by her own sobs and the cold screen of the iPad that displayed her cynical betrayal.